Now it works. Sorry guys, I put up the wrong video for the intro. It was my bad. Had to show the second one because it's so cool. And today we are having a public private coaching or private public coaching. And with me here in the studio is our member a13r. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, and if the sound levels are screwed, just let me know from the viewers so I can change the levels. I hope it's fine. So both of us are in here, and what we are going to do today is that a13r sent me a database of around 8,000 hands or so, 7,500 from PLO 5 Zoom, and that's what we are concentrating today. And it seems that your winnings haven't been that positive.
hmm
So you asked me to check through the hands if I can find any leads, and that's what we are concentrating for the next 90 minutes. And now, I forgot what I was about to say. Yeah, for those who think that or wonder what this public-private coaching is, basically it's a chance to get a private coaching from any of our coaches for a cheaper price. Like for me, normal rate for 1 hour coaching is $25, but this public private coaching is only $20, and it's actually 1.5 times longer. It's 90 minutes. So first thing, the database of 7,500 hand is pretty small because the variance plays a big role. But when the graphs go like this, to me it looks like yes, there has to be some points to improve. If the green line went down, but the all-in adjusted winnings went anywhere else, then it might be variance. But when the graphs are going steadily down, there are definitely points to improve. So before we start, what are your own opinions? What might be the main points to improve or your biggest leaks? You said you have found some possible leaks yourself.
Yeah, I found some mistakes when for example, had to fold, but it was nearly between call and fold. Like, for example, uh, I needed 30% equity, and I had nearly 25, and so on. But the main point is I don't know the biggest leaks. I don't see them. Do you hear?
Sorry, I was muting myself. Animetsa is
Uh,
asking, where are you from?
Belarus.
Yes, so did you watch any ice hockey when you had the World Championships?
One more time, please.
Did you watch any ice hockey as you had the
No, I
championships
don't
there?
like it. I don't
Oh,
like it.
okay. So when I'm having a database and what I'm trying to do is that always first of all I'm going to watch the basic statistics,
hmm
and your winnings are going down, but then there's VPIP, brief operation 3-bet, and these stats are pretty decent to me. Like the VPIP is 21, which is the way to go in PLO 5 or even higher. If your VPIP goes over 25, then you have a lot of marginal hands. So this is nice. Brief of raise is decent, and 3-bet 7, it's sort of high, but it's not the main problem. Of course, we have to check what kind of hands you 3-bet with. And you c-bet flop 75%, which is fine, and you call c-bet 37%, which means that you fold to c-bet around 62%. And that's that's decent too. If it's higher or lower, it would be easy to exploit you. And this is something you fold to flop check raise half of the time, 20 out of 40. So we're going to see what kind of spots those are. But you fold to donk bet 52%, which is pretty high. And let's say I was playing against you, or I am playing against you, and I see that you fold to donk bet 50% of the time, then it comes to my mind that if I don't bet half a pot always, I'm making a huge profit. So that's something to think about. Of course, at micros you often have to just fold to donk bets, but it's something to think about. You might want to put donk bet stat to your HUD. So you can,
I have it. I have
you
it
have
actually.
it, great. So you can identify those who don't bet a lot. Because what I have played PLO 5 Zoom, there are some players that donk pretty often. Their donk bet is like 30 or 40%. Oh, my camera, I have a, now it should be fine. Then we have call river efficiency. Like when you make a river call, how much money you're making with those calls, and this number is really good. But when I went and looked some of the hands that you have called or folded on the river, there might be some problems. But the next thing is try to figure out where are your losses coming from, or where does your winning coming from. And the next step is to check position. And your button is minus 26, 27 pp's per 100 hand. Of course, now the sample size is so small, we have around 1000 hands on each position. So if you lose one or two big pots on any position, it goes to negative winnings. But still often your button is your money making position. And what I'm always looking is how do you play blinds, like how much you lose from the blinds. I think that in the long run it's almost impossible to have a positive winnings on the blinds. There's something wrong with my screen, it goes black all the time. But it's in my cables or something. On the small blind you're losing around 17, which is great, and on the big blind you're losing 71, which is not that great, but as we see, without the blinds you would make money. So definitely when you play hands from the blinds, you make profit with them when compared to just folding all of your blinds. So the blind play is not a big problem according to these stats. But with the small sample size, it's just, as we can see from the cutoff, you're winning $16, and from the button you are losing 16. So it might be a couple of big pots that makes the difference. But then I want to know where does your winnings and losings come from. So the next one is to see, do you make money when you open hand yourself? Like now I'm filtered all the hands where you open pre-flop. And to me it seems that yes, you're making some of the money. The line isn't going down anymore. And of course, with 1000 hands, the variance can be whatever. But it seems that when you open a hand, you're making profit out of them. So those are probably not the biggest problems. Then the next thing is, do you make money when you 3-bet? And this is sort of interesting graph. It goes down and then it goes up. I don't know, have you changed anything during these 7,500 hands?
No, I don't.
Okay, is it played on one day or?
No, it's like 3, 5 days.
Okay, so it's still a short period and you didn't tilt or played bad in any spot?
Maybe just variance, I think.
Yeah. But basically, especially around the halfway, you're making money when you 3-bet. So you're not losing money by 3-betting.
Hmm.
Overall, at least it seems that it's not the main issue. When you're calling 3-bets, now the line is sort of more interesting, it goes down. And of course, here we can see that you have run bad, you have lost $43 and your EV is only $23.
Hmm.
But these are the hands that it's all called 3-bet. I think I have somewhere. Yes, here's the hands that you have opened and someone 3-bet and you call. Because it's different from cold calling. So now these are graphs from the hands that you open pre-flop and someone 3-bets you and you call. And now we take our calculator and your opening size is around 3 big blinds.
Yeah.
And it's 100 hands. So if your opening size is 15 cents, you have, when you open a hand, I suppose that your open is always plus EV. So you have invested $15 when you open the hand. Now the next question is, when people 3-bet you and you have a hand that you can call or fold. If you have aces, you 4-bet shove. But when you have a hand that you can call or fold, out of these 100 hands, if you would have folded all of those hands, you would have lost $15. And now you have lost around the same $16 in EV. I'm not interested in this number because it's just variance. This is the more important number. But basically what it says that you're not making money by calling 3-bets. Of course, the sample size is small. We have to go and see what kind of hands you have there, and we're going to do that. We have over an hour to go through the hand. But this is definitely one thing you can improve. It might be that you're calling with hands that you shouldn't call, or you're calling and somehow lose the hand that you should have won. This should be positive. Of course, with 100 hand, it's one hand that is a setup and this goes down. So I don't know if it's a link, but it's one possible. And we have to go and see the hands, and we are going to do that.
Okay.
Then I found out that you have cold called 3-bets 12 times. It's not much, but you have done it 12 times in 7,500 hands. And it might seem a small number, but you have lost around 60 or 75 PBs out of those 12 hands. So it's definitely something that affects your win rate. And we're going to see those hands. There are a few hands that I think cold calling is justified, and there are hands that you shouldn't cold call. And we have some post-flop spots. Like I have, when you call a flop donk bet, has happened 24 times. You're losing a lot of money. And you're folding around half of the times to donk bets. So I'm thinking we are going to go through these hands too, what is happening there. Then we have a hands that where you make a C bet on the flop and you check the turn. Now it might be that you check out of position or you check back the turn. But anyway, when you make a c-bet and you check the turn, you're losing a lot of money. And of course, you should be losing money, because often you c-bet with air and opponent calls, you give up. But when I went through the hands, there are definitely one spot that is happening over and over again, and it's like you check the turn to give up, and I think I have here that you check the turn and fold it on the river. I don't have it, I have to make it. Let's add a filter to here. You check turn and fold river. And it goes way, way, way down, and has happened 109 times. And this is something that I found that is happening a lot. You check, especially you check back the turn, which creates the problem that the opponent knows you don't have a strong hand. And when they donk the river, you're just going to fold. And there's 43 times when you have folded to river donk bets. And we're going to go through the hands, but I think we should start from the pre-flop.
Okay.
I think I had got raised flop. Yeah, it's 49 hands that someone raises you on the flop. But of course it should go down because you have a lot of air in those hands.
Yeah.
Here's pre-flop raise without a 3-bet. So this is the hands that you open yourself, that no one... I think that when you don't shove it pre-flop. And now we see that it's sort of break even out of the 1,000 hands. So it's definitely, but I think we can go to the hands and see, where did I have my cold 3-bet? Yes, because these are some of the interesting hands. We have 12 hands that you have cold 3-bet. And when we look at the hands, I think the only hands that justify cold calling 3-bets are these double paired hands. Because all of these ace, king, 9, 6, this is... We have a replayer, so it's easier to see the hands. The problem with this hand is that what can you hit? Like, let's go on with the hand. There's UTG open from sword stack, and button isolates and 3-bets, and you decided to cold call 3-bet. What I'm wondering is, what is your reasons for cold calling this opening?
I didn't notice that short stack, that UTG is a short stack. I thought he's full stack.
If he is 100 BBs, what is the justification for calling? Why do you call with this hand?
Because I think I will hit many flops, like many flash draws, and I have not flash draw and nearly not. I don't think I
lost your sound. Don't know what happened, but we lost the member. Whoa. So, a13r is dismissed. I hope we can get him back.
Oh,
And yes,
sorry.
you're back.
Yeah,
Can you see my screen or should I share
no,
it?
no, no.
Okay, so I'm going to share it again. So the justification for this hand, the thing is that how often you're going to hit the flush draw?
Uh, I don't remember exactly, but I think nearly 25% of the times.
1 out of 4 times. What happens to the other 75%? Or do I think the number would be smaller? But anyway,
Mm,
what happens to the 75% of the time when you don't hit the flush draw? What you are going to hit with this hand? And
more often, nothing.
yeah, and even if you hit your not flush draw, do you want to shove your flush draw on the flop?
Against 3 people, yes.
Well, there's 1 people and probably 2 people. If you can three-way all in with the not
I
flush
mean,
draw,
yeah, three-way, yeah.
yeah, that's the best possible scenario for flush draw, and it's pretty much EV0 when you get
Mhm,
three-way all in and you have the not flush draw. Someone probably has said so. You have around 30% equity, which is when you are making EV0 decisions on the flop, you're not making any money. And one of your flush draws is king high. If this button has aces and he shoves flop with 2 spades, he often has suited ace of spades.
mhm.
So now I'm going to adjust our microphone level slightly so it might be better. So the problem with this type of hands, ace, king, 9, 6, is you can't hit any wraps. You can hit the nut flush draw, but the other one is not king high. And often when this guy 3-bets, he has a lot of aces in his range. What if the flop is ace 9 7? Do you shove your 2 pairs?
It depends. If the guy has a low 3-bet, I just check fold. If he has a 3-bet like 10 or higher percent, I will shove.
So the thing is that I suppose this one calls or shoves. Even if he calls, you have an SPR of 3, slightly lower. So the thing is that there's not much you can hit. Pretty much always when you get your money in, you are not crushing anyone. You are often drawing to the flush, you have a pair and flush draw, and you are flipping, or you have 2 pairs against overpair, which is good for you, but you have ace in your hand, which sucks in 3-bet pots. Because the problem is that even in PLO 5, still big part of people's 3-bet range have aces. And the
Yeah.
problem is when the flop is ace high. So if you fold this hand, it's EV0. And with this type of hand, I don't think calling is ever plus EV. Now the
So
short,
just fold or
yeah,
fold and.
I would definitely just fold this hand.
Mhm.
I don't think I would even call pre-flop, like if button opens, because this hand, it's so hard to flop anything strong. Not flush draw itself is not a strong hand in PLO.
Mhm.
It's medium strength hand. It's especially out of position. It's so hard to get value for it. Yes, if you
Okay.
get a three-way all in, it's marginally plus EV, but it's not making a lot of money.
Mhm.
Of course, now you have to see the flop, and let's say this sortie would have just called, and the pot is 170. How would you
Yeah,
play?
I have to fold here.
Yeah, so
Like
you're
I have only top pair without any draws, so it's
yeah.
just a
So the problem is that with this hand, this is actually a good hit for you. You have a top pair, top kicker. There's not much better that you can often hit. Of course, sometimes you have top pair and flush draw, but it's so rarely. So you will hit this type of flop pretty often. And you have hit the flop with your hand, but you can't continue. So there's definitely a problem in my mind in pre-flop.
Okay.
So you're going to, so often you have to check fold the flop that if you have king and eight of spades and the other guy has aces, you're not totally crushing him. I'm going to open the equity lab and we can see what would be your equity if you hit
Nearly 60%.
Yeah, if you hit the top pair and the flush draw. So if you have aces and king 9 against aces and the flop is, let's put 8 of spades. So against random aces, you are flipping on the flop with top pair and flush draw, which is pretty much the top of your hitting range. Only 2 pairs and flushes are better and rips, but it's a strong hit for your hand. And when you hit almost as strong as you can, and you're still flipping against his estimated range, it can't be really plus EV hand to play, because like 8 out of 10 times you just have to check fold on the flop. So Galleon says, what would you advocate to call in this spot with microstack? When microstack shoves, opens UTG and button 3 bets, I would shove aces. I might call with some double paired hands. I might call with some great double suited rundowns that have a lot of ways to hit the flop and will hit the flop very often. But with these type of hands, I would just fold.
Okay.
And there are a lot of similar type of hands. We have ace, queen, 10, 8, pretty garbage. We have ace, king, 8, deuce. It's pretty garbage. In PLO, these 2 high cards and 2 lowers. Ace, king, 9, 6. In PLO, this is a bad hand to call. It's better if you can open it from the button or cutoff, but just call pre-flop. It's pretty marginal.
So it's only a 3-bet or just fold, yeah?
Yeah, I wouldn't 3-bet these hands ever. Because it's just pretty much you have ace king, which is not a monster in PLO, and you have 2 flush draws. And when you're playing out of position, making money with flush draws is really hard. Because when you think about the spots that on the flop you have a flush draw, if you check call, it's almost impossible to have maximum value. And if you check raise, you're turning your hand into a bluff, and open shoves, you have to shove and hope your king high flush draw is alive.
Is it a good hand to 3-bet in position, like on button, for example?
I wouldn't 3-bet with this hand, because the problem is they hit the flop so rarely.
Okay.
And when you 3-bet, you really want to have a hand that has good visibility. Like when the flop comes, you know if you have hit it or not. And with this hand, there's always the problem that if the flop is, you have ace king 9 6, and the flop is ace queen 7. You have no idea if you are ahead or behind, if your opponent raises you or dunk bets you. But when you have hand like 8-8 4-4, now it's easier because these double paired hands is if you don't fold pre-flop, you're not making a big mistake. And when you have position to the 3-better, I think now it's an easy call. Because if he shoves, you still have the equity to call. Because now you're going to hit the flop 1 out of 4 times with the set, and set is a strong hit. So this is something that I would call here. And then you just see if you hit the set on the flop or not. Now you have actually blockers to the straight, but it's a three-way pot with the shorty. So I think check, and now you have to fold. I think this hand you played just fine. And we had the other double suited hand here, or double paired. Sorry. Let's open. And yes, you can call. And then just flop, you totally miss it. I think you can fold it. It's okay. But with these other type of hands, like Queen, Jack, 8, 7, this is sort of garbage hands. And when you cold call 3-bets, you really need to have a strong hand. Like this is an instant fold. There's no way you can make money in the long run by calling with these more trashier hands, because these hands you pretty much need 9-10 on the flop to have a wrap. And you have 3 hearts, which you block one of your heart out. It's not double suited. It's very hard for you to hit the straight because you have double cap in the middle. So basically you have 2 hold'em hands. You have Queen Jack and you have 8-7. So unless you have a monster hit on the flop, which happens 1 out of, I don't know, 100 times, you just have to fold. And here is an actually interesting situation. Button 3-bets, you cold call in the middle, and this Call Me Nemo makes a 4-bet, and he 5-bets. So if they both have ace, ace, x, x, what would you think is your estimated equity?
Nearly 30%, I think.
What you need to have to justify a call here? How much you would need equity to call here?
If both of them shoves?
Well, he's going to shove. He has invested 225 to the pot and he has 130. But
well, it's 3-way, so 30%.
There's already, you have put 55 cents to the pot.
So less.
So what you need, you have 55, 59, behind, and the pot would be around $10, $14 or so, little less. I think this is 15 cents over your 14, it's 30, 35. Well, it's going to be close to $14. So you need around 33%.
And I have 38.
Oh, we have sorry. You have almost 40% pre-flop. Because basically, if they both have aces and you don't have a pair or ace in your hand, this is so funny in PLO that the hand is not good enough to cold call 3-bet. But when it goes 3-way all in against 2 aces, you have 40% equity against 30% equities. You have the best equity, and it's quite funny. But I don't know, what do you know when you play the hand? What do you know about Call Me Nemo?
Not much. Only 6 hands, as I see.
Yeah, he has 3-bet twice against you, or a hand that you can see with ace, king, king. But I would suppose that his 3-bet range, 4-bet range is pretty much aces. We might give him ace, ace, and king, king hands, which drops your pre-flop percentage to 32, but still it's almost close enough to call. So if you are not scared of variance, I think this is a spot where you just put your money in and see if you win it. If they both have aces, you have made a plus EV call. So it's sort of funny spot. But yeah, the difference is not big. Even if you call and they happen to have aces, overall your EV is not that big. It's going to be around, I don't know, you need 33 and you have 38, so it's going to be 5%. So out of a $14 pot, it would be around, how much is 70 cents or something. So in the chat, there's Callion is asking that there is no 3-bet, 4-bet bluff range in PLO. Yes, it's true, because the folding equity for 3-bet or 4-bet is pretty minimum and pretty minimal. And in PLOs, you have so many hand combinations that there's no point to 3-bet with bluffs. Like if you want to do a total bluff 3-bet, you 3-bet with 7 deuce deuce deuce. But why would you 3-bet that? Because you can build up, let's say, 15% 3-bet range with strong hands. Or you can create 20% 3-bet range with the strong hands. Why would you 3-bet with trashes? Button can still have double suited connected hand. No, button is never 5-bet shoving with any rundowns. I think this guy range is pretty much aces or ace king king. Because there's no reason to 5-bet shove hand that is flipping against random range. Because in PLO, the preflop equities are running so close, so even if you have a double suited rundown, you're not a favorite or huge favorite against let's say random hand. If you have double suited king queen jack 10 and you are against top 80% of the hand, so we dismiss all the triple hands and garbage hands, your preflop equity is only 57%. So that's for the chat room that he shouldn't have any rundown. Byakhee is playing PLO 5-2 on the chat, and he says his 3-bets basically only good aces in PLO 5, any position. It's hard to say if it's a league, it depends how good you play them post-flop. One option is to go to your poker tracker or hold'em manager and filter the hands that you 3-bet and see if you make any money. If your winnings go down, then yes, you have a lead. Because if your 3-bet range is only aces and opponent knows it, he can exploit you very much. But as we can see here, out of the 12 hands that you cold call 3-bet, 11 of those you have to fold on the flop, turn, river, or pre-flop, and there's a lot of folded flop, fold pre-flop, fold pre-flop, fold flop, fold flop. So you're not making money by cold calling 3-bets. So this is definitely something that you should think about.
Okay.
It's not good to cold call 3-bet. Then we have hands that you have opened and someone 3-bets you and you call it. And this hand looks pretty strange. King 8-6-6. But it doesn't open. Now it opens. So what has happened here? Yes, you open from the button and you're gonna mean 3-bet. Yes, of course you call. The thing is that if you open 3 big blinds from the button and you open pretty much every time when it's unopened, because you have king 6-6-8 in your range. Of course, these guys are so tight that yes, this open is fine. But when you open 3 BBs, you have to be successful more often than you would need to be with 2.5 pp's. So what is your pre-flop bet sizing? Is it 3 pp's from every position, or are there any differences?
It's only from the button 3 BBs. In the early positions, I open pot size.
Yes, it's good. I'm actually curious. How do you pronounce it?
What exactly?
Yeah, the English is hard for us Finns. Let's see. I was trying to see. Yes, I can see it in here. Raise first in and positional. Here we have the raise first in. So on the button, your raise first in is 94%. So pretty much every time when it's unopened, you open from the button.
Yeah.
And I have actually made some calculations. I think I haven't posted it into the English forums yet, but I will do it right after this coaching. I'm making a note for myself. Just a second so I don't forget it. So I'm going to post after this coaching the calculations that when you open with the bigger bet sizing from the button compared to when you open with smaller bet sizing from the button, if you open 100% of the buttons, and how does it affect the winnings. And
if I open nearly 40, nearly all buttons when no one raised before me, and I open with min raise 2
no,
BBs, is it profitable?
2.5.
Why not 2?
Because then the problem is that still you're going, how do I say, you should be able to make money with most of the hands you play in the button. Because when you open with 2 BBs, you have to be sort of balanced. You can't open full pot with the strong hands and 2 BBs when you're stealing. Well, you can against recreational players, but against any better players you can. And with the min raise, what I have seen, the folding equity is less than what it would be with 2.5 BBs.
Okay.
And with 2.5 BBs, you are still making profit when you win the pot post flop.
Okay.
But I'm going to put up the numbers. I have never tried what would be the folding equity if you just min raise from the button, but I'm pretty sure it would be less than with 2.5 BB raise. And Animetsai said it's interesting to see raise first in 95 on one position and max 25 on any other position. Well, I think it's fine. Because, of course, from cutoff, you should have higher. Your raise first in is only 15% from the cutoff. And basically, if you can make the button fold, the cutoff becomes the button. So this is definitely one that from middle position, early position, and cutoff, your raised first in is around 15%. So to me, it seems that you have a range of around 15% of the hands that you like to open, and you open it from these 3 positions. And what it should be is that from early position, you're opening tighter, and I think that the 13%, this is good for the UTG. You should be playing really tight from under the gun, that you should just open hands that are good in multi-way pots. But when it comes to MP, your raise first in should go higher. You should open little more hands. And from the cutoff, you should open a lot more hands. Because it's then you have position in the cutoff. Button has position on you, but you have position on the blinds. So when there's 3 opponents in the hand, you have position on 2 of them. And if you can make the button fold, you have the position post flop.
Okay.
So there's a huge gap between button opens and cutoff opens. And of course, it's not the same position, but it's almost the same. So you really should try to get this one higher, definitely. From middle position, you can play tighter because you have 2 players position on you and 2 players out of position on you. But from the cutoff, you should try to open more hands and sort of think what would be good hands to open from cutoff. And it's definitely 15% is sort of tied from the cutoff because you can open so much. Like with all the hands that you cold call 3 bets, those are type of hands that you can open from cutoff if the button is not a super aggressive player.
Okay.
And Yaki is asking, is it profitable to raise 100% of the buttons in PLO 5? I'm not sure. In PLO 10, it's definitely profitable. And on PLO 5, I'm not sure. I haven't tried it. It might not be. It might be. I suppose it is because people are still folding a lot of their blinds. And raise first numbers are good from cutoff and button. When I'm playing PLO 10, PLO 25, my raise first in from the button is close to 95 too. It's like I'm opening 100% against unknown or tight players. And if there's huge calling stations or some super aggressive players, then I'm not opening my trashy hands. But I'm opening a lot of buttons. And I'm going to make the post, well, not today, tomorrow maybe, if I remember. There's some numbers about what does it mean, how does it change if we open 3.5 or 2.5 VPs in the button. And you can see the numbers, how often opponents fold, that can we make a profit or not. So I think those questions are answered in the post when I get there. Now I kind of forgot what I was about to go through. Yes, we have the hands that you have opened and called the 3-bet.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the hand with King 8-6-6 and it caught my attention that what has happened there. So let's see what we have here. Well, there are some hand is like King 10, 6 deuce. These are kind of spots that I'm just going to fold because this is super trashy hand. This hand is just plain bad hand. And what
But
happened?
look at his 3-bet. He's so high.
Well, the best case scenario is that his 3-bet is 1% and you know it's aces because then you can play profitably. When it gets higher, you have no idea on the flop what he has.
It's 7.
Yeah, it's 7. Even if it's 20, you can't call with this hand because this hand can't hit anything strong. Like, what do you want to hit with this hand? What is a good flop for you?
2 pairs, I guess, only.
Okay, and what kind of flops you can have 2 pairs?
Not much.
Yeah, not much. Pretty much something King 10, 5 when you have top 2. So, yes. Often, even if there's 2 pairs on the flop, there's going to be a lot of draws. He might have, when you hit flop is Jack 10, 6, you have bottom 2 pairs. because you have two small cards. So most of your two pairs are going to be bottom two pairs or top and bottom two pairs. And when the money goes in, it's hard for you to be a huge favorite. So with this hand, you're not going to flop anything. So pretty much 9 out of 10 times you just have to fold the flop. And when you have opened the button with trash hand, it's like if you have 4 deuces in your hand, you know that when he raises you are drawing dead pre-flop. You wouldn't call with 4 deuces. And these trashy hands are almost the same. You open the button because you know that opening any button is plus EV. You just try to steal the blinds. Now the steal went wrong. So now when he 3-bets, your steal wasn't successful. This doesn't mean you have to call his 3-bet. His 3-bet percentage is 7, and I don't know if it's in your heart, but he has 3-bet aces, kings, ace, king, queen, fours, ace, queen, jack. So there's aces, kings, and all Broadway rundowns. And against that range, your hand is just crushed. So I would just fold here and know that I opened button. I would open with any 4 cards. It's profitable. It didn't work. I give up. The problem is that when you call, you have to call for 33 cents. And when the flop comes, you're going to miss it so often. Now you have one pair. He c-bets 2/3 of the pot. You call. If he has an overpair, and let's say all of your outs are alive, all of your 11 outs are alive, how much you need to win from him to justify this call? Like you know he has ace, ace, queen, queen, like he has only overpair.
How much I need what?
How much you need to win if you hit 2 pairs on the turn?
I don't know.
So now the problems just escalate higher. You have 11 outs to 2 pairs. So if you think that every time when you hit 2 pairs you are ahead of him, it means you're going to hit around 25% of the time. It's sort of 24, 25. So you need to win 4 times these 64 cents, which is around 260, and the pot is 229. So when you hit 2 pairs, you don't need to get a lot of value. So on the flop, I think this calling is fine. If you hit 2 pairs, I think he's going to give you some value. The problem is that if 6 comes, he might have the straight. But if you know he is 3-betting range, it's high cards. So this flop is good for you. Of course, he's probably blocking kings or some things. If you hit the king on the turn, he might have 10 outs for the river, which means that your equity is not that. He's not drawing dead on the turn. So this coin is fine, but still you have no idea where you are. If you don't know what hands he has 3-bet with, this 7% might include 5, 6, 7 type of hands. So you call and the turn is 7. He checks and you pot half a pot. Is this a bluff or value?
Bluff.
Do you think he would ever fold aces?
If he don't have a flush draw, I think yeah.
If you think
Like
he's going
always.
if you think he's going to fold, then you can bluff. What do you represent here?
2 pairs, straights.
Would you bet half a pot with 6-8?
With 6-8.
I mean 6-9 or 6-4. If you have a straight, would you
no.
bet only half a pot?
I think more like 80 or 90%.
So yes, the thing is that when you bet half a pot, he might think that you don't have a straight ever.
Mm-hmm.
So when you bet only half a pot, the folding equity is much smaller than it would be if you bet bigger, because now you don't represent almost anything. If you have two pairs, you wouldn't bet half a pot. If you have a straight, you wouldn't bet half a pot. So if you try to represent something, you need to use the bet sizing that is logical,
Mm-hmm.
because you want him to fold. And the thing is that if he raises, you have to call. I think if he raises, you have $3 behind, and the pot would be around. There's already $5 in the pot, so you need around, I don't know, 25-30% equity. So if he raises, you have to call. So you are not bet folding. Then you can bet bigger to maximize the folding equity.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely bet bigger here, because you really want him to fold. But the hand is pretty bad. Now you happen to hit the flop on some way. It's a marginal call, and on the turn you happen to have a good card. Let's see what else we have. King and 9 deuce. This is another pretty bad hand. It's the same situation. You open, and wow, he makes his, he three bets you, but it doesn't show in his hand. So at the time of the hand, I don't know if this was his first three bet, but he seems pretty tight. So now when he's sort of tied, well, he hasn't shown any AC with his three bet. But against tight player, if you are sure that he has aces, then you can call. If his three bet range is wider than aces, I think you have to fold.
Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty bad hand again. So you're often going to hit two pairs and then try to see if you can get money in. Of course, now you hit the second flush, which is great for you. But you check back the flop. Why?
Brum, brum, brum. I don't know. A mistake.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know why I checked.
I think that checking is actually, I think it's a good play. Because
I think that if I just bet, he will fold like almost everything except flush ace high, and if I check back, there is not much. I don't think he have a lot of sets, so he might bluff on the turn, so I can get some value. That's it.
yeah, the thing is that when he checks, this is a good flop for c-bet. If he doesn't have anything, he should c-bet. So when he checks, it really seems that he has something. He might check ace high flush here. And the thing is that if you bet, he's just going to fold everything that is drawing dead. And you're not getting three streets of value from smaller flushes, because you have the 9 in your hand. So 7 high, he shouldn't have 7 high flushes in his range, and 10 high flush is not going to call 3 streets. So I would definitely call, check on the flop and see what happens. And now the turn pairs. I think this half a pot is great, because if he has pair aces, he might be tempted to call. And he folds, so at least you gave him a chance to do something stupid. But there are like this queen 10 8 deuce type of hand, which is pretty bad. King 7 5 3, which is horrible. And it's the same, they are always in button. This is on button 10-9, 7-3 sort of close. When you open button and your opening range is almost 100%. And when someone 3-bets you, you don't have to call. You don't have to call 3-bets when you have 100% range and you're opening with almost any 4 to steal the blinds. When the steal doesn't work, it doesn't mean you have to make another mistake and call the 3-bet. So my advice is to fold these type of hands pre-flop when someone 3-bets you. And if you have a guy who 3-bets a lot from the blinds, then don't open any 4 cards against him. Tighten up your button open range when you have those aggressive players on the blind. You can still open up top 50% of the hands that are great for calling 3-bets, or you can 4-bet them with ace king type of hands. But with these trashy hands, because these are going to lose you money in the long run. And if you can just fold these trashy hands, it means that with the better hands you can make a lot of profit. Because now you are, as we calculated, if you would have folded all of these 100 hands, you would have lost $15. So it's with calling 3-bets you are sort of break even. But if you drop down these trashy hands, your win rate increases a lot. And suddenly opening from the button and calling 3-bet, this goes way, way, way higher. And we have done an hour already. Let's see what we had. Here we have c-bet flop check turn.
Yeah, I guess it's the biggest leak, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see if we have a... I'm going to add here a filter that we saw river. Because there are a lot of hands that you fold river, and let's see what this is not a good hand for it. This is not a good hand. I had hands that were well, this might be. Because when I looked through the hands earlier, I noticed that there are a lot of hands where your action gives up your hand strength. And then when opponent knows that you don't have a strong hand, they can bluff you and make you fold a lot. Like here. You open, yes, flop c-bet is fine. On the turn he checks and you check. Now think you are an opponent and this a13r guy checks the turn. Can he ever have a set?
No.
Can he ever have king 9?
No.
Does he ever have ace king?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, but basically you're capping your range. Capping a range means that you say that your range isn't strong. So what you now have here is pretty much these type of hands. You have weak or one pair hands. You might have overpair. You might have ace king. You might have jack 10 queen type of hands. All kinds of hands that you want to see the river that aren't strong enough to bet the turn. And
So,
now when the turn is, the river is sort of blank, the opponent knows that you don't ever have king 9, king deuce, king 8 in your hand. You don't ever have a set, so you never have a full house here. So the only hands that are strong enough to call are some kind of ace-king hands that are strong. Like trip kings is the top of your range. And even that trip kings it's going to be so small part of your range that if opponent bets this river, would you fold or would you call?
it depends on the opponent, but if he's tight, I guess I should fold.
And this is what caught my eye. There are a lot of spots where you check the turn and river comes, opponent bets, and you fold. Like here, if opponent bets the river, I would always call. Because when you check the turn, you are sort of under-representing your hand. Like you have a stronger hand that your action says you have. So when opponent, he's going to bet you, in PLO 5, people are bluffing rivers a lot. A lot of players would bet any missed flush draw, any missed straight draw here. Like if he has any clubs draw, he would bet the river. If he has any Jack 10, Queen 10 type of cut shot, he would bet the turn, bet the river here. So you have the best bluff cut shot you can have. So if he bets half a pot, I think you should call always. Unless you are damn sure that he's never bluffing. And this is what happened. Sorry. Let's add that you are facing. No. Well, I think it's here that now you have the possibility to call on the river. Let's see what happens if I can use the filters right. And now with the ace, king, queen, it's the. Well, this hand might be good enough. You open, you get a lot of callers, you see bet button calls. On turn you check, he bets, you call. On the river you check, he bets. I think, yeah, it's sort of fine. The problem in here is that
I guess if I call the turn, I should call the river, or I should just fold the turn. Something like that.
Well, you can't fold the turn because you have the set. The thing is that, of course, now the action your action defines your range on the turn. That when you check the turn, the opponent knows you don't have 6-8. Pretty much. He knows you don't have a straight. So he can bluff here with his flush draw. Or he can value bet ace 5 or something. And when you call, now he's sure you don't have 6-8. So when the river is blank, he can bluff you with his whole range. So that's the problem, especially playing out of position, because you have to give away your range so often.
So I should c-bet turn?
I think I would bet the turn, because he has so many flush draws in his range.
And if he makes raise, I should fold.
Then you have to calculate, is your 10 outs good enough?
Okay.
Now you open button. Flop is dry as hell. You make a c-bet. Yes, you get one call on the turn, you check back. Now, this is a spot where your action defines a range. And when you check back the turn, opponent knows you don't have set of queens, you don't have set of tens, you don't have queen thing.
Mm-hmm.
You probably doesn't have set of sixes or deuces either. So when you check back the turn, the opponent knows you don't have anything strong to this board. You probably have some weak made hand, like you have.
Mm-hmm.
So when the river is sort of blank, of course it's 4, it completes a 5-3. The opponent can bet here with his whole range, and he should have a ton of folding equity. Of course, now when he's potting, it's so hard, but what I have found in PLO 5, people are potting with 10 bluffs. Of course, on this flop, when he calls, he often has small straight draw. But the idea is that when you check back the turn, you should think about what happens on the river.
Mm-hmm.
When you check back the turn, you should realize that I'm giving up my hand strength. So can this opponent exploit me?
So it's again a c-bet turn.
Well, I think you can see bet the turn or you can check back the turn, but when you check back the turn, you should know why you do. Do you want to induce him to bluff the rivers? What rivers
Mm-hmm.
you call, what rivers you fold? So it's a thinking
Okay.
process. You have to think ahead. Now the problem is that on the turn you give away what is your hand strength. So the opponent, when you just fold the rivers, the opponents can exploit you a lot and they can bluff you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same happens here. This is similar type of hand, especially with aces. Wow, there's a min raise and you make a min 3-bet. Why not 3-betting for full pot if you want to 3-bet?
I don't remember. It's like a joke, I think. I guess it's the first guy who made a mean bet on
Yeah,
the PLO
well,
5.
I do it
So
sometimes myself. But yeah, definitely I think if you 3-bet, you should 3-bet
yeah.
with higher, especially you're deep against this guy that you have
Mm-hmm.
position on. So if you happen to hit the nut flush or something, it's always better to build up the pot. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, you flop pretty much a strong hand. You have the cut shot and flush draw to the nuts. And you make a c-bet and one guy calls, turn completes a straight, you check. Now when you check behind, he knows you don't have 9-10.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you give up your hand strength. And it's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you don't let your opponent exploit you as much. On these boards, if you always check back with these type of hands, and if the river is blank, you always fold, then opponents can bluff you away so many times. Of course, now that the river is a queen, an opponent bets, and this doesn't make sense. So I don't think he would ever bet here with the straight. So the problem is that he knows you don't have a straight, so he might bluff with the missed flush draw himself. He might have
Mm-hmm.
kings with hearts, he might have king 10 with hearts, and he might just bluff the river. And the problem is that now when you fold, it's so easy for opponents to bet at you on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And Calleon said here in the chat, no need to see bet so huge in that flop with ace, ace, x, x. I agree, but I'm not going to bed sizings today. The 1.5 hours is not enough to go to bed sizings. And in PLO 5, you can actually exploit opponents by betting bigger with made hands.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there were some hands that the flop was, you 3-betted pre-flop and the flop was monotone. Like there was 3 of the same suit on the flop and you c-bet full pot. And you didn't have the flush, if I
Full
remember right.
pot?
Almost. You made a high c-bet.
I almost make a half pot bet with
Yeah,
without a flash on the
yeah,
monotone.
in the monotone boards you should make a half a pot, so I'm not sure if it was a mistake or if it not. Let's see if we have any. Well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. What do we have in here? A lot of aces. Yes, there are some spots where, let me see if I can build up a filter. I haven't put it. When there's open and someone cold calls and you squeeze with the 3-bet. And do I know how to use this? Not sure. Let me see if we can build up like this way. No, it's not. So that didn't work out. I suck at poker tracker filters. We can see it from the actually in here pre-flop action. There's going to be raise call. No, there is not. Now I would need someone to help me. How can we find spots where you actually squeeze? So you make a 3-bet when there's an open and a cold call. Let me see if we put you in. Player position. Let me see how this works. Yes, this is one hand that definitely hard to make money. UTG opens, button calls, and you squeeze. Now the question is why?
I want to isolate only one of them, so to play heads up with that hand.
How often you isolate? Which one you
Not
want to
often.
fold? You want the UTG guy to fold or the button to fold?
The button.
If he calls from the button, would he ever fold to a 3-bet here?
not much, I think.
Yeah, what kind of hands he have that he can call UTG raise and fold to a 3-bet out of position? What kind of
Not
hands
much.
he could call and then fold to a 3-bet?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe none. None
Yeah,
hands. No.
pretty much some bad kings or queens he might fold. But basically, when he calls UTG raise, he has a hand. He never has air. So he has some
Mhm.
kind of hand. And when you 3-bet, it's just money making position to the button or money making spot.
Mhm.
And UTG guy pretty much when someone opens from UTG, he probably has a strong range. So often he's either going to 4-bet or he's going to call. And what happens here, like 90% of the times, is that they both call and you have a big 3-way pot and you're out of position. So especially at micros, in Hold'em this is a squeeze play because you're trying to squeeze the cold caller. You're giving him pressure. But in PLO, the pre-flop equities are so close that this doesn't squeeze anyone. When there's 3-bet and a call, and I mean when there's open and call and you 3-bet, pretty much always the outcome is that they both call you.
Mhm.
So when you are making these 3-bets out of position against one cold caller, you have to be aware that most of the time you will have a big 3-way pot. So your hand needs to be one that plays well in those situations. And Queen 10 9 6 is not a good hand in 3-way pot. You
Mhm.
don't have a nut flush draw. Your 2 pairs might be dominated. Your straight draws might be dominated. You're going to flop. This hand is going to hit the flop often, but when the money goes in, you are not a favorite often. And now button Shah makes a 4-bet, which is super strange. He probably has aces or kings. And of course you call. And then you flop a pair and a cut shot. And this guy shoves, this guy shoves. I think yes, you have to fold. And he had aces, he had kings. And this has happened a lot of times. There are some hands that you can do it. This is something I don't like. 3-betting with kings, it's if you are sure that his opening range is super wide, I think you might be able to do it with profit. But the problem is that every time you 3-bet, he's going to put you on aces. And when you have kings, it's almost the same. When he's playing against aces, he's going to play against kings perfectly. And the thing is that if he has an ace in his hand, it really hurts your hand. Like,
Mhm.
if we look at the pre-flop equities, and you have kings and 9-8, if opponent has any hand with ace, the pre-flop equities are 55-45. So you're almost flipping against any hand that has ace. So the thing is that you are almost flipping, and this hand has really poor visibility. So when the flop comes, you have no idea if you are ahead of or behind.
So it's call or fold.
Yeah, it's call or fold. I think out of position, even fold is okay. Because these
Mhm.
pair kings, they play post flop so poorly. If you don't hit the set of kings, you're going to have problems. And now he 4-bets and you have to fold, of course. But I wouldn't. If you have an ace in your hand, if you have ace king king, it's a lot better to 3-bet.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you are blocking his aces, and if the flop is ace high, you still have the top pair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we can see, you have made actually a lot of money by making 3-bet from the blinds. And I think if you can drop some of the worst hands, this would go even higher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here you 3-bet the button, yes you can 3-bet, but this hand is not a great hand to 3-bet. Because you have ace jack and 4-3 again. What are you going to hit? Now you have a dream flop. You have 2 pairs and a cut shot. But what are you going to hit with this hand?
A lot of flops I will hit because it's I have 2 flush draws. I will hit something on almost all flops. Like some piece I will hit.
Yeah, the problem is you're out of position, and when you play marginal hands like this one, this marginal hand, it means that you will often hit the flop with marginal hits. And when you have marginal hits, that's when you make mistakes. When you have nuts, you're probably not making mistakes. When you have total air, you're probably not making a huge mistake. But when you hit marginal hands, you will make a lot of mistakes. Let's say the flop is king jack 3. What do you do? With the spade draw? Yeah, you see, but he raises you. What do you do?
Fold.
So now you hit 2 pairs, but you have to fold. And when you have 3 and 4, most of your 2 pairs are bottom 2 or top and bottom 2 pairs.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that even when you hit 2 pairs, if he raises, you might need to fold. If the flop is king jack 3 with spade draw, he might bluff raise you with any king XXX hands.
Mm-hmm.
Because he thinks he has folding equity against aces. So you sometimes fold the best hand.
Yeah.
So all these hands that have 2 high cards, 2 low cards are not good hands. This seems pretty, but it's not a strong hand. And the other flush is only jack high. Opponent will so often have king or queen or ace high flush. And Callan is asking, is like hand with ace 5-4-3 better to 3-bet than ace jack 5-3? Well, ace 5-4-3 is a better hand, but it's not still a great hand. Because when you have ace in your hand and the flop is ace high, that's when the problem comes if opponent doesn't fold. Let's see if we can find. Here we have raise and callers. That's how we can find these squeezes. Actually, well, that's a good hand. Here we have the hands that you have facing pre-flop action, raisers and callers. Too bad I can't filter just those, but here we have another spot where someone opens button cold call and you 3-bet. Why do you 3-bet?
I have a good hand. No. It's connected. It's suited.
You're out of position.
High cards.
Yeah,
but it's value 3-bet.
Value. What is your range against solo farmer? Let's say he opens from this position. He opens 38%. And let's say this is accurate percentage. What is your pre-flop equity against top 38% of the hands?
Nearly 40. 50.
Nearly 50. So you are not even ahead. What
but still I flop very good.
you do? One flush draw is queen high, the other is jack high.
Yes.
So if you hit the flush draw and the money goes in, pretty often as you're blocking with one of the smaller flushes, when the money goes in, there will be quite often someone with the higher flush draw.
But I won't go broke in with the only flush draw.
Well, they're not folding it either. You are actually ahead of 38% range.
Mm.
But the thing is that in Hold'em you can open or 3-bet 3-bluff if you are ahead of their range, because post flop you can realize your equity a lot better. Because in Hold'em the pre-flop equities are the pre-flop equity differences are bigger, but in PLO you pretty much are often 50% equity with your opponent. And now you are building up a pot. You create a big pot. They probably call on pot it's $2. You make a C bet. You have invested almost half of your stack out of position. Like on this flop, what do? Do you just check fold?
Yeah, check fold. If someone bets, I should fold.
Well, now you have a dream turn. Why don't you pot it?
Uh, because I don't see why should I pot. There is not so many drawy hands, so
The thing is that if someone has a hand that can call 150 after your 3-bet, he always has a hand that can call $2. Like,
okay.
is there a hand that calls 150 in this spot but folds to a $2?
No.
Yeah. So, because probably no one has anything strong. King Jack, if someone has King Jack, they are going to raise you anyway. And probably they are going to call you with flush draws, so you can maximize the value and bet big here. And now on the river, you check fold. The thing is that when you check the flop, the opponent knows you don't have a straight draw. When you bet the turn big, you pretty much often have aces, you might have set of jacks, you might have. Well, that's about it. And when you check the river, the opponent doesn't even shove, which is strange. I think I would call here, because he might be bluffing. It's so obvious spot for him to bluff. Of course, he's betting big, so you can fold, you can call. I don't think the difference is big enough. But the thing is that this hand is like when you have a pair in your hand, you're going to miss the flop more often. Like if you had king, queen, jack, 10 double suited, I think the 3-betting is better. Because then you are going to hit the flop more often. But now, unless you hit the set, which happens 7 out of 8 times, you don't have a strong hit on the flop. Of course, sometimes you hit the straight, which happens like 1 out of 200 times. But basically, at least 75% of the time, you don't have a strong hand on the flop.
Okay.
And you're out of position, the pot is big, and you are the pre-flop aggressor, which means that everyone expects you to see bet. And now let's say the flop is king 5-4 with king and 4 of diamonds. What would you do with your hands? You have middle pair and flush draw.
C-bet.
What if someone raises?
Fold.
So you're turning your hand into a bluff.
Yeah, or just check fold, I guess.
Well, you just said that you open the hand because you can hit a lot of flops, you can hit the flush draws. But if you hit the flush draw and you check fold, why
I
do you
mean,
open?
I won't shove with the only flush draw. If I have,
But
for example, for a gut shot or a pair and the flush draw, it's better.
but you have pair in your hand, which means that almost 75% of the times you miss the flop. You
Yeah.
have only a flush draw. So the problem is that this hand is pretty. It can hit flop in many ways, but it doesn't hit the flop hard that often. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are making these three bets against two people that you don't have much folding equity, like this is what's going to happen almost always. You are creating a big 40 pp pot out of position against two people. This shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be surprised that this is what's going on the flop. You wanted to create this situation. So now you need to have a hand that can hit the flop hard, harder than your opponents. Like you want to have hands that dominate your opponents. Aces, ace high flush draws, big rundowns. That when you hit the flop, like you have king queen jack 10 and you hit the king high straight and the opponent hits only a jack high straight or something. You want to have hands that can hit flop hard and hit harder than your opponent. Now it's totally the other way. This hand is going to hit the flop often, but if the money goes in, the opponent probably has hit it harder
Mm-hmm.
because your flush draws are small and you block with the queen of diamonds, you block the jack of diamonds, which is one of the only flushes that can give you value. And here you have jack high flush, but you block the 10 high flush.
Mm-hmm.
So you pretty much create a situation where you have the hand that is often dominated. Like if the flop is king jack deuce, you have middle set. Someone has kings, and you think, oh, what a setup. But when you play jacks and tens and nines, you will have those set versus set situations so often, and you create it yourself. So with this hand, I think it's much better to just call pre-flop. See if you hit the
Mm-hmm.
flop. And when you hit the flop, you can see if you hit it hard enough to put money in the pot.
Okay.
So there's definitely, when there's open and cold call, you need a damn strong hand to three bet because it's not a squeeze play, it's not isolation, it's only building up a big pot. If you want to isolate someone with three bet, it would be here. Now, if button three bets, there's no cold callers. So if button three bets, he's isolating himself against this player.
Mm-hmm.
If he three bets, then the blinds need a very strong hand to cold call three bet. So
Yeah.
that's when you isolate someone with three bet, when there's no cold callers. But as soon as there's one cold caller, what happens is that this guy doesn't often fold. People don't bet fold to three bets that often. And after he calls, the button has super spot. He has great odds to call pre-flop. He has position. Like if I was the button here, I would just drool. It's so nice spot to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So he's never folding. So I like to say that you can't make squeeze plays in micro PLO. You just create a big pots.
Mm-hmm.
And Dea is asking on the chat that how do you value non-ace high flush draw in PLO? Are you always scared with king, queen, jack high flush draw? I would answer to Dea that with king high flush draw, you're only going to lose to one flush draw, and you're going to get a value from two flush draws. Most of the time, when people have Broadway flush, like jack, queen, king, or ace high, they are not going to fold it. So if we assume that we get value from the Broadway flushes, with king high flush you can value from 2 and lose to 1. With queen high you can value from 1 but lose to 2. So often at micros I treat king high flush as the nuts as long as someone gives me the reason to believe other ways. So if no one raises me, I always think that king high flush is the nuts. But with queen high flush, I am much more cautious because people are often calling with king high flushes. And jack high, 10 high flushes are pretty much bluff catchers. But we have gone almost for 2 hours. I got carried away. Yeah. Not a problem, but those are some of the spots that I found out. One is that those 3 bets when someone has cold called. That's pretty much the problem. And other is that when you open the button with total trash, you don't have to call the 3 bet.
Mm-hmm.
And from both of those spots, if you can fold some of your worse hands, or with queen jack jack 10, don't 3 bet, just call and keep the pot small until you have hit it. You can increase your win rate a lot. And the third problem is that often when you check back the turn, you give away your hand strength.
Yeah.
Which creates an opportunity for opponents to bluff you very often. So I think with those 3 spots, you can definitely get this graph going upwards.
Mm-hmm. We'll try.
But as normally, don't try to fix everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to fix all of those in your next session, it's probably going to end up in a horrible way. Just pick one, like those. You might start with the button opens when you have a trashy hand and opponent 3 bets you, especially if their 3 bet percentage is other than aces. If you are sure that they have aces, of course, then it's easy to play against them. But if the 3 betting range is wider, it means that you're going to be dominated so often if you have a total trashy hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's think that, do I always have to call the 3 bet? Then start to fold those terrible hands. And then when that is doing fine, or you're doing it fine, then move on to the spots where you normally would squeeze pre-flop. Think that is it sometimes better to just call, or should I just fold my trashy hands? And sort of do it in small steps. That's my advice.
Okay.
So I don't know if are there any thoughts from you about the session.
Any what?
Any thoughts? Any comments on this session?
No, I don't think. We just found some huge mistakes. I should work on them, and we'll see what it will be, how my win rate goes.
Yeah. I think you can always open a blog to our forums and tell us how you're doing. But anyway, thanks for the session. I hope you got some value for the 1.5 hour session.
Yeah, I do.
Yes, and I thank you for this opportunity to do the first ever public private coaching for
Thank
our
you
site.
for coaching. Yeah.
Yes. So if anyone has any comments or questions, feel free to use the forums. We can continue the discussion there. But for me, thank you for this Sunday evening, and I'll see you guys later. Okay? So,
Yeah.
yes, bye bye.
Good luck. Bye.